There comes a moment in your life when silence becomes heavier than conflict, when your chest tightens not because of enemies, but because of people who share your blood, your history, or your trust. You feel drained after conversations that were supposed to feel safe. You question yourself for feeling hurt, because you were taught that loyalty means endurance. You tell yourself you are overreacting. You rationalize disrespect. You minimize emotional wounds because they did not come from strangers. But here is the uncomfortable truth you rarely admit. Some people only feel close to you because they are slowly consuming you. Not violently, not openly, quietly. Through guilt, through obligation, through manipulation disguised as concern. And the most dangerous part is this: you feel ashamed for wanting distance, because society tells you that cutting ties is cruel, ungrateful, or weak. Yet deep down, you already know something is wrong. Your body knows before your mind accepts it. Your peace disappears around certain people. Your self-respect erodes in their presence. You leave interactions feeling smaller than when you arrived, and still you stay. This video is not about anger. It is about clarity. It is about recognizing when staying connected costs you your dignity, your growth, and your inner order. Stoic philosophy never demanded blind loyalty. It demanded wisdom. The Stoics understood that character, not closeness, determines who deserves space in your life. This subject matters because unresolved emotional damage does not stay contained. It leaks into your decisions, your discipline, and your future. Guilt keeps people trapped in relationships that silently destroy their potential. Marcus Aurelius wrote that we must be strict with ourselves, but tolerant with others, yet never at the expense of reason. Cutting ties is not an act of hatred. It is often an act of self-governance. Stoicism does not teach emotional coldness. It teaches emotional sovereignty. When you understand this, you stop seeing distance as betrayal and start seeing it as alignment with nature, truth, and inner stability. Sign 1. Constant disrespect, disguised as familiarity. The first sign is repeated disrespect that hides behind jokes, tradition, or "that's just how they are." You notice subtle insults, dismissive tones, or boundaries ignored repeatedly. When you speak up, you are labeled sensitive. When you stay silent, the behavior continues. Over time, you begin doubting your own perception. Psychologically, this erodes self-trust. Your nervous system stays alert around people who should feel safe. Epictetus warned that people who cannot respect reason cannot respect you. The danger of ignoring this sign is normalization. Once disrespect becomes familiar, your standards collapse quietly. The Stoic response is not emotional confrontation. It is measured distance. Observe without reacting. Reduce access. Enforce boundaries through action, not argument. Respect yourself first. Those who benefit from your silence will resist your clarity. Let them. Sign 2. Emotional drain without mutual support. This sign appears when interactions leave you exhausted rather than strengthened. You listen endlessly, give advice, provide emotional labor, yet receive little understanding in return. When you need support, the room suddenly empties. You become the container for others' chaos. Psychologically, this creates imbalance. One-sided emotional exchanges foster resentment and burnout. Seneca warned against relationships that consume more than they nourish. Ignoring this leads to emotional depletion masked as loyalty. The Stoic response is recalibration, not explanation, not resentment. Reduce availability, stop overgiving, offer support without self-sacrifice. Stoicism teaches conservation of inner resources. Your energy is finite. Spend it where virtue, not dependence, exists. Sign 3. Guilt is used as a control mechanism. When guilt replaces communication, manipulation has entered the relationship. You hear phrases designed to shame rather than resolve. You comply not because you agree, but because you feel morally cornered. Obligation overrides choice. Psychologically, guilt-based control suppresses autonomy. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that no one can force your inner consent without your permission. Ignoring this sign traps you in emotional servitude. The Stoic response is clarity. You separate responsibility from manipulation. You stop explaining your boundaries. You accept temporary discomfort to preserve long-term dignity. Guilt fades when reason stands firm. Sign 4. They resent your growth and discipline. This sign appears when your improvement makes others uncomfortable. Your discipline is mocked. Your boundaries are questioned. Your ambition is labeled arrogance. They preferred you when you were more accessible, more controllable. Psychologically, this stems from insecurity. Your progress reflects their stagnation. Epictetus taught that those threatened by virtue often attack it. Ignoring this leads to self-sabotage. You shrink to preserve harmony. The Stoic response is silent consistency. You do not argue your growth, you embody it. Distance becomes necessary when proximity demands self-betrayal. Sign 5. Chronic violation of boundaries. Boundaries stated and repeatedly ignored signal disrespect, not misunderstanding. You clarify once, you restate twice. After that, violation becomes intentional. Psychologically, boundary violations trigger helplessness. Seneca warned that tolerating injustice teaches others how to treat you. The Stoic response is enforcement, not repetition. Consequences replace explanations. Distance replaces dialogue. Boundaries without action are wishes. Stoicism demands alignment between words and conduct. Sign 6. You are only valued for utility. If your worth depends on what you provide, the connection is transactional. Once usefulness fades, so does warmth. You are contacted when needed, ignored otherwise. Psychologically, this reduces identity to function. Marcus Aurelius warned against tying self-worth to external roles. Ignoring this leads to exploitation. The Stoic response is withdrawal of excess availability. You offer presence, not servitude. Relationships rooted in virtue survive equality. Sign 7. They undermine your inner peace. You feel anxious before seeing them. Calm disappears in their presence. Conflict follows without resolution. Psychologically, this activates chronic stress. Epictetus taught that peace is the highest good. The Stoic response is prioritization. You choose tranquility over familiarity. Distance becomes medicine, not punishment. Sign 8. You cannot be your rational self around them. You become reactive, defensive. Unlike yourself, their presence pulls you away from reason. Psychologically, identity fragmentation occurs. Marcus Aurelius warned against environments that corrupt character. Ignoring this erodes integrity. The Stoic response is removal. You protect the mind first. Each of these signs points to one truth. Not every connection is meant to be preserved. Stoicism teaches alignment with reason, not attachment to roles. Family, friendship, and history do not override virtue, peace, or self-respect. When you tolerate disrespect, manipulation, or emotional chaos, you invite disorder into your inner world. Distance is not abandonment, it is selection. You are choosing environments that support discipline, clarity, and growth. The Stoics did not isolate themselves from people, they isolated themselves from corruption of character. When your inner calm improves after separation, that is not guilt speaking, that is truth revealing itself. You are not required to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. Emotional sovereignty is the foundation of strength. The relationships that survive boundaries are the ones worth keeping. Everything else is noise. Cutting ties is not a reaction. It is a decision rooted in wisdom, patience, and self-command. Maturity is knowing when presence harms more than absence. Stoicism is not about isolation, it is about order. When you choose peace over chaos, clarity over confusion, and self-respect over approval, you step into quiet power. If this message resonated, reflect before reacting. Distance before anger. Reason before guilt. Support us by engaging thoughtfully. Share this with someone who needs clarity. Comment only if you are ready to speak truthfully. Walk forward lighter. That is the Stoic path.